Hey guys, Mike Montanari with Fast Monty's Garage. Thanks for joining me. Today I got an embarrassing story to tell you, and what I did to fix it, which led to another fail. Yeah, it wasn't pretty. So basically, I was meeting some friends of mine for lunch, took the GTO, and it was one of those parking lots where I found the perfect end spot to park in. There's a sidewalk on one side, and a decently spaced parking spot on the other, and so I was backing into that spot, and I know there was a pole behind that spot, and I'm backing in, I'm paying attention to the curb because I didn't want to rub a wheel, and I back in, I open the door, and I'm still got like 2 feet from the curb. That sucked. So I did it again, pulled out, pulled back in, this time closer to the curb, and I forgot about the pole. Ran right into the pole. I wasn't going that fast, but it clearly pushed the bracket through the metal. The chrome came off. Super disappointing. So, brought the car back home, put it on the lift. Couldn't think about it. It took me like 2 weeks to even come out here to look at it again. So, silver lining, though, I've always wanted to shave the bolts. So you can notice on these bumpers, for the carriage bolt hole jack slots here, shaving means you weld those over. So I welded in a stud and I covered the jack slot. Looks pretty cool, right? Well, that's not as easy as it sounds. So what happened was I took the original bumper, I took it to a chrome shop. They stripped it because you don't want to weld or grind chrome. It's bad for your health. And so I welded in the stud, welded in the jack slots. Problem is, you need to sand that flush before chrome, and you cannot use body filler. It has to be all metal. That's extremely difficult. I didn't know how difficult it was. I had to weld 3 times. I'm going to try and put some pictures on the video of the process. I basically failed at it, and I got to the point where I was actually grinding through metal, not near the carriage bolt. It was around the carriage bolt. It was ugly. So again, it took a few days to think about it, and my plan B was, I'm good at body work. I can re-weld it, do body work around it, primed it, did all that, so it's ready for paint. So if I fail at that, I could always paint it or sell it to someone who wants a painted bumper with no bolt holes. So I do that, and while I'm doing that job, it dawns on me, there are cars that have killer wrap jobs. I'm sure you guys have seen them. I was wondering if there was a chrome available. Maybe I can chrome wrap it. Well, guess what? 3M makes an awesome chrome wrap. There's a few different companies out there. 3M's the most expensive. I always lean towards the most expensive. Usually means higher quality. It has a higher thickness. It's called GC451. I think it's gloss chrome, something like that. That's what this is. This is actually a chrome wrap. It's hard to tell from there as compared to normal chrome. But if we zoom in, or you're at a show and you have the sunlight's shining down on it, you can see the seams. The reason there's seams, you have a film that you're trying to stretch over this complex corner. You can't do it in one piece, you have to do it in sections. So there are seams here, and the seams are annoying. So if you're wondering what chrome looks like wrapped, this is what it looks like. I don't recommend it. It's extremely hard to do. It's better to do on more of a modern bumper, modern bumper covers that have a gradual curve. You can totally do that. But this is a very complicated curve to do. And it's really cool, but it's not good enough for a show, because I can still see orange peel in this. Those of you guys that don't know what orange peel is, if you look on a fresh paint job on a new car, and you look down the edge of it, there's little tiny bumps. It looks like an orange peel. It's called orange peel. My car does not have orange peel on it because I sanded it all off. That could be another video. And again, if you guys have questions at any time, comment below. Let me know. I'm I want to help as much as I can. Okay, so what's the next step here? So it's wrapped, it looks okay, it doesn't look good enough. Now I gotta look at, I sourced 2 different bumpers. They're not OEM bumpers, they're remanufactured, they're gonna have issues, they're not gonna be a show bumper like I had before. Here's my guidance. If you're gonna drive the car a lot, and you're gonna take it to autocross like I'm gonna eventually do, take it racing, whatever, either one of these bumpers will be fine, right? If you plan on winning shows, that's going to be more difficult, because first you have to find an OEM bumper that's relatively straight. That's going to be about $500. Take that OEM bumper and you take it to a chrome shop that knows what they're doing. They have to strip it, re-straighten it, re-grind it, re-chrome it. That's going to be about $1,000 extra on top of the sourcing of the bumper. So $1,500 to $2,000 for a show bumper, $400 for an aftermarket bumper. So you make the call. I'm going with the aftermarket because I want to start autocrossing, and you know, if I spend too much money on this thing, who knows? Or maybe I take the wrap off here and paint it. That would be cool. Or sell it. It's probably $1,000. I think someone would pay $1,000 for a no bolt bumper, braided paint, right? I think so. So I selected one purely because of aesthetics and a couple of blems that I noticed. But when I was looking at the holes, I noticed the carriage bolt holes looked different size from bumper to bumper. So I got the carriage bolt. It doesn't fit. Can you freaking believe that? So that one's out. I guess I'm going with this one. And I'll show you what I mean. No go. Go. That's crazy, right? So we're going to take this bumper off and put that one on. Here we go. So here's my guidance before you get started. Working on anything that paint related, decorative related, take your jewelry off. Actually, now I think about it, anytime you work on a car, take your rings off. I've had one scenario, my finger got caught. It's the last time I wore a ring. So anyway, what I like to do is protect the paint surface here. So this is just painter's tape, glue. I prefer the green. I just ran out of the 1.5 inch size. So I'll weasel that in. I don't want to be chipping paint and then repainting a panel. So depending on how comfortable you are, determines how many layers of tape you want. I usually use 2. You can do 3, 4, 10, I don't care. So that's done. My other guidance is get the car off the ground. I know most of you don't have a lift, but get it jacked up, put some jack stands under there, because you're going to have to get underneath the bumper to get the bolts out. So here we go, 11/16. 11/16. Most of you, let me get the camera closer. Alright, most of you probably have this center bracket bolted on. I do not. My bumper's too close to the frame, so that bracket didn't fit anymore. Didn't need it. So remove those 2 bolts first. Then what I like to do is remove the bottom bolt, so that's 11/16. Ta-da! What I recommend doing is taking one of them and putting it upside down. What that does is it prevents the bumper from swinging, when you take both nuts off, the bumper's going to want to pivot, and then it's going to hit the paint up here. So I put at least one in. You can put both in upside down. Oh, do you see that? It just jumped. So luckily I have this bolt that's hanging on there. It held it in place. It just dawned on me. I didn't take the battery tender off. For safety's sake, I'm going to put this nut back on. Now I have my 11/16, 2 extensions just to get in at the bolt and a pivot. So before I forget, you gotta take the license plate light. You have to loosen it and leave it hanging up there. It's just a Phillips head. Because I've done that before. I tried to take the bumper off and that was still attached. How embarrassing. Okay, the bumper is just hanging there on the 2 studs and that 1 bolt. Got my sawhorse ready. So I'm holding it on. Oh, and by the way, I recommend 2 people do this. So one person's holding the bumper on, the other person's loosening the final bolts. I've done this a few times, so I'm pretty confident in what I'm doing. So that nut and bolt's removed. Now comes right off. Bada bing, bada bang. I'll take the license plate off. There we go. So now you guys can see what I was talking about the primer. When I primed this bumper, so it's all primer. This is actually, I take it back, this is Pour 15, which is used for, converts rust. You just paint right over rust. It's awesome. I used it for the underbody of the car. And here are the studs I welded in. So, pretty easy to see that. So I just realized that you probably missed the whole license plate thing. But I'll show you when I put the new one on. Oh, and this is obviously a wrap. That's where the wrap folds over the edges. So in another video, I'm going to take the wrap off and then adjust some of the primer so it's ready for paint, just in case I want to paint it, or if someone wants to buy it paint ready. Oh, and by the way, if you guys have any questions, let me know. Leave in the comments. I know questions happen, and I'll do my best to answer them. I just eyeballed how level it is. I'm going to turn it over to see how well I did. Looks good. Okay, so I have the orientation set, so I can just put it on the car. What I'm going to do is take my new carriage bolts that fit and drop them in. I'm going to take my handy dandy tape and I'm going to tape them on. The reason is when I go to put the bumper on, I want it to fit in the slots for the mounting of the bumper. Otherwise, it'll just pop right out. It'll be here for a while. You can even test it by pushing on the back of the bolt. The other thing we need to remember is make sure to tape our light bulb back up into place. Because when you get the bumper up, you probably can't get the light bulb in there. So, here we go. I'm going to do the same trick with the upside down bolt in the bottom hole after I get the bumper up. Okay, so it's fitting loosely. Checking my clearances. So I'm going to close the deck lid and see if we're level or not. You can see on that side it's closer. So I have to move this lower bracket to make sure it's lined up. The bracket bolts are 3/4 inch. Right here and right here. So 3/4 on each side. I'm going to loosen them up. Okay, so the point is I'm just going to loosen them so I can move it around a little bit and set it. Do not take them off. So I'm able to actually move it a little bit. Okay, so now we're just going to put the license plate light back in. You can see I still have it taped up there. Take the tape off. And we'll see if the holes line up. Hey, one. That's positive news. Alright, alright. Now I'm just going to take my fingerprints off everything. So I'm taking the tape off, and I'll show you guys and girls what damage I did. So I don't know if you can see this. That's where I scratched the paint. And so what I'll do is I have a touch-up pen I can do because I have the paint color, but that's disappointing. A really sharp edge here on the inside of the bumper. The good news is this bumper is a little more tucked than the OEM bumper, which creates its own problem, right? Because it's not fitting quite right. So when we do the video where I'm going to restore the taillight assemblies, I also have to level them. So from this angle, you can see this line is not level with this line, and you actually need to drop the tail light a little bit, and then this one has to come up a little bit. So when we remove these, we'll actually have to modify the holes to get that done, and then we're going to repaint the black trim. I'll show you guys how to take that black paint off the chrome. But I like this a lot better than the damn wrap job. So I think that's it for this video. So if you guys haven't already, subscribe, tell your friends. If you have any questions about what I did today, let me know. So until next time, build them fast, drive them faster.